Lounge service. Let's take a look at how to offer exceptional service in the lounge. The lounge is an area where guests go to escape and relax. Perhaps after dinner to enjoy a lovely digestif, or before lunch to enjoy an aperitif. So, since the lounge is a calm and relaxed environment, how do you think you can adjust your service here? We'll take a look at the style of service in the lounge, anticipating guests' needs, and serving guests in the lounge. Let's start with service in the lounge. Because the lounge is a quiet, relaxed area, the style of service needs to match this mood. In other words, your service in the lounge needs to be quiet, relaxed, and slightly removed so that you don't bother or distract your guests while they relax. Next, let's look at anticipating guests' needs. In the lounge, we want to interact with our guests only when it is necessary, so as to not disturb them. This means that you won't be speaking to them all the time and finding out what they want. For this reason, it is vital that we are able to anticipate what our guests will be wanting while they are in the lounge. As with restaurant service, the time of day is a good indication of the type of drink that the guest will want to enjoy. Around lunchtime or before dinner, recommend a refreshing aperitif, such as a glass of Sauvignon Blanc or a gin and tonic. After dinner, you can recommend a digestif, such as a beautiful whiskey or cognac. A wonderful way to please your guests is to tailor for return guests. For example, Mrs. Jones may have a gin and tonic every afternoon at 4 o'clock. This means that as 4 o'clock approaches, you could politely ask Mrs. Jones whether you could fetch her a refreshing gin and tonic. She will be absolutely amazed at your service. Finally, let's take a look at serving guests in the lounge. There are a few standards in providing excellent lounge service. Make sure that you greet the guest within 1 minute of them being seated, and take their drinks order within 3 minutes. By looking after your guests immediately, they can begin to relax and settle. Also ensure that the guest gets their drink within 5 minutes. Remember to provide the guests with snacks and offer them a restaurant or snack menu in case they want to eat something. When the guest finishes their drink, be sure to offer them another within 2 minutes, ensuring that they're never without anything they need. Remember to be quick and efficient in all aspects of service. Provide the bill to the guest within 3 minutes of them asking for it, and be sure to clear the tables quickly after the guests leave. So to summarize, you know more about the following ways to adapt service in the lounge: the style of service in the lounge, anticipating guests' needs, and serving guests in the lounge. Good luck creating a relaxed environment in your lounge. Pool service. Many of your guests will enjoy the beautiful environment of your swimming pool. This means you need to have an understanding of how to go about service by the pool. Let's take a closer look at pool service, and in particular, the style of service by the pool, drink service by the pool, food service by the pool, and special touches. Let's start with service by the pool. Whenever guests are by the pool, they will be there to relax and enjoy the sun. Because they are there to relax, the first thing to remember is to be as quiet as possible when working, so as not to disturb the guests. This also means that whenever you do interact with the guests, keep it short. we don't want to force our guests into having long conversations with us while they are trying to relax. In terms of providing service, such as topping up drinks, this is the ideal situation for phantom service. Let's move on to drink service. There are a few points to bear in mind when serving drinks by the pool. Many establishments use plastic glasses by the poolside because if glassware breaks, it cannot be seen in water, which is dangerous. If this is the standard at your establishment, be sure to use the plastic glasses instead of glass ones. Whenever it is a beautiful hot day, your guests are more than likely going to be sitting by the pool, enjoying the sun. This also means that they will get very thirsty and need to have water and drinks topped up and replaced. If the guest ordered wine or a big bottle of water or wine, be sure to set up an ice bucket and place it within easy access of the guest. If you have many drinks to carry and serve, ask a colleague to help you by holding a large tray while you deliver the drinks to make service even more efficient. Next, let's take a look at food service by the pool. Just as guests will get thirsty by the pool, they may also get hungry and want to order a snack or light meal. There are a few ways in which you will adjust service here too. The cutlery fold is a great fold to use poolside, since it holds the cutlery together neatly. Make sure that there is space on the side table for the food before you bring it. This way, there will be space when you bring the cutlery, condiments, and food. It is also essential to use a tray, since there are so many items to serve and clear. Finally, let's look at some other special touches by the pool. Guests by the pool may also require sunscreen, wet wipes, lip balm, and plenty of towels. If it is standard at your establishment, make sure you know where to find these. When providing pool service, you should now know more about the style of service by the pool, drinks service by the pool, food service by the pool, and special touches. Good luck serving guests as they relax and enjoy the pool. Introduction to breakfast service. Breakfast service is most often the guest's first meal at your establishment, and so their first impression of your property will be created during this meal period. Therefore, it is crucial that breakfast service is impeccable from start to finish. Breakfast is the first and most important meal of the day. It is also often the first and sometimes the only meal that guests will enjoy daily at your establishment. So it is all the more important that you provide each guest with an exceptional breakfast experience. In this lesson, we'll be looking at continental breakfast, full breakfast, and a la carte breakfast service, before finishing off with buffet breakfast service. Let's start with continental breakfasts. A typical continental breakfast consists of pastries such as a croissant and sweet cakes like brioche, often filled with a sweet jam, chocolate, or cream. It might also include cereals, fruit, yogurts, cold meats, cheeses, assorted breads, and a selection of hot beverages and juice. Continental breakfasts are often able to be offered as in-room breakfasts too, as the food doesn't have to be served warm. Next, let's look at full breakfast. A full breakfast, also called an English breakfast, varies according to region and taste. Some of the foods that form part of a full breakfast include eggs, either fried, scrambled, or poached, bacon, fried or grilled tomatoes, mushrooms, toast, sausages, baked beans, and potato cakes. A full breakfast is often served with condiments such as brown sauce and ketchup. It is also traditionally served with a pot of tea, but can be served with coffee and/or fresh fruit juice. Next, let's take a look at a la carte breakfast service. There are a number of ways in which we can adapt service for plated breakfast. At other meals, the guests will usually enjoy coffee or tea at the end of the meal, but often guests want to kickstart their day with a hot cup of tea or coffee first thing. So when the guest is seated, be sure to offer them tea, coffee, or juice and deliver their choice within 3 minutes. When you take the guest's order, be sure to note any cooking preferences or menu options. Some common examples include how the eggs are prepared: scrambled, boiled, fried, or poached. In the case of boiled eggs, whether they should be soft, medium, or hard boiled. In the case of fried eggs, whether the guest would like it sunny side up, that is not flipped over, or over easy, cooked on both sides. Which type of toast the guest would like, for example white or brown bread. Which type of sausage the guest would prefer, such as beef or pork. Make sure you know which questions to ask when taking the breakfast order. Breakfast is often enjoyed with condiments such as ketchup or brown sauce, so before bringing the breakfast order, be sure to bring these items if they aren't on the table already. The order should then be delivered within 10 minutes of being placed. Finally, let's look at buffet breakfast service. If the breakfast service at your establishment is buffet style, there are also a few points to remember. You should offer the guest coffee or tea when you seat them. Also ensure that once you've seated the guest, you explain the buffet to them, such as where to get the plates, the different sections, and which items to order from you. The guest may eat breakfast in stages, starting with cereal and only eating hot breakfast second. If so, be sure to provide the guest with the appropriate cutlery as they progress through the breakfast. For example, a spoon with the cereal. Equally, ensure that you clear empty plates, bowls, and cups promptly to get them out of the guest's way. In terms of the food, make sure that all the dishes on the buffet are full, that they are deliciously presented and replaced as needed. So to summarize, you now know more about the types of breakfasts and breakfast service styles. In particular, continental breakfast, full breakfast, and a la carte breakfast service. And finally, buffet breakfast service. Well done and good luck adapting service at breakfast. A focus on tableside service. Let's take a quick look at providing tableside service. Some dishes require an element of the dish to be provided by you, rather than by the chef. For example, saucing a dish, adding freshly ground black pepper, or adding ice cream to a dessert. We'll be looking at soufflé service, an example of tableside service, to illustrate some of the main principles of tableside service. So, let's look at Collins and Mike serving soufflés to the guests. Then we'll discuss what they did right. What beautiful, elegant service. So, let's take a look at what they did right. First of all, the dish may be time sensitive. In other words, it may ruin quickly if you don't have your timing right. It's important to make sure you communicate with the chef about timing so that you can do your preparation. Once he knew when the dish would be ready, Collins did his preparation. He asked Mike for help. If he had to do it alone, it would have been a disaster. Next, you'll notice that Mike and Collins asked the guest before delivering the service of adding the ice cream. For example, saying, "May I add the ice cream?" The same should be done before providing any tableside service. Because they were prepared and thought ahead, Collins and Mike were able to deliver the service with open body language. Notice also that they are at a comfortable distance and aren't invading the guest's space at any stage. Finally, they removed anything they used to deliver the service from the table, taking it out of the guest's way. So to summarize, when providing tableside service, you should note the following points: timing, preparation, asking the guest's permission, your body language, and removing anything used to provide the service. Well done on better understanding tableside service.